to, hey, how about a title? How about a blurb? How about advertising and marketing? You can teach yourself as you go and be successful, be very successful at it. Welcome, Barry from the Highlands.
First of all, can you all understand me okay?
Yeah.
I've been on for 45 minutes. Yeah, I've come from the Highlands. Your ears aren't broken, I'm Scottish, we're supposed to sound like this. It's been great. I've really enjoyed the last today and yesterday. I've been amazed by the enthusiasm of the speakers, particularly the American speakers. Again, I'm Scottish, we don't do enthusiasm. I'll just stand here looking surly and angry all the time. Is my plan. But to give you a quick introduction to me, my name is Barry Hutchinson. I go by Barry J. Hutchinson. I've been a traditionally published children's author for 10 years this year, I think. Published by HarperCollins, Penguin Random House, and various other publishers. Sorry. September 2016, I launched a comedy sci-fi series called Space Team. The title was deliberately shit, Space Team. It just doesn't really mean anything, but I thought I'm going to go with that because it made me laugh. My plan was that I would launch this one book, it would be a bit of fun, and it might be an additional side income to my traditional publishing income, which was pathetic, as it usually is. And I had no money because traditional publishing tends not to pay well. I think my royalties for a book sale, I get 7.5%. It'll be more than about 35%. Traditional publishing is 7.5%, and that's often on the price that the bookshop pays for it. So if Amazon buys a book in at £1, I get 7.5 pence when that book sells. So traditional publishing royalties are not particularly generous. So I had no money to spend on this book. So I decided that I was going to do it all myself, and that's kind of what my talk is about. Again, being Scottish, I'm naturally very tight with money. So when Mark Dawson said yesterday that he spent $18,500 in a month, I almost had a stroke. So the most I've ever spent in a month on advertising was about $300. I work in dollars even though I'm based in the UK because most of my readers are in the US. So the $300 was again the most I've ever spent in a month. My plan last year was, because Space Team started to do quite well with the first book, my plan last year was initially, I thought I'm going to set myself a goal of $10,000 as my earnings for Space Team for 2017, and my friend up there, Tommy Dongovan, encouraged me to push it. So I thought, okay, I'll set my goal at $15,000 for the year. And it finished 2017 on $120,000. Wow. So that's kind of who I am and what I've been doing, and I'm going to talk about how to launch a best-selling book series with no money.
I'm Scottish as well. That's the sort of title I like.
No money, you say. So this is the book. This is Space Team. It's the first in the series now of 7 books, 2 spin-offs, and a short story collection. Book 8 comes out on Friday next week. It's really very good. You should check it out. I like to think it's comedy sci-fi, but erring more on the side of comedy. It's very much. It's like a sitcom that's set in space, basically. So each book is a fun adventure, and you never really have to think about it again. It's not great literature by any stretch of the imagination. I was talking to some other sci-fi authors last night, and they were talking about how their ships move faster than light, and they were telling me all the scientific explanations. In Space Team, to move faster than light, they do that. Slow down to do that. That's the level of technical know-how. It's the only book in the world I'm aware of that has a 50-foot-high Dorothy out of the Golden Girls fighting space bears. So if that sounds like a cup of tea, check it out. So the plan to write, design, edit, and successfully launch it on Amazon while spending little or no money, because as I said, I'm very tight. Step 1. Now this is again, this is what I did. I know I must stress there is no right way to do this. This is what I did and what worked for me. Step one was really when I discovered the Michael's group on Facebook. I've been on keyboards and I saw Michael posting on Facebook and I followed that group, and that's when I kind of inadvertently stumbled upon step one in this kind of key to what I think was Space Team success. Start making deposits in the bank of goodwill. Or put another way, be nice. As it happens, I'm naturally nice. So that was fine. Now, I've met some of you people, and some of you are bloody horrible.
Too honest. Too honest.
Sorry. But you can pretend to be nice if you have to. But just to give you some pointers on how to be nice. What I mean when I say be nice, or what worked for me being nice anyway, was get involved in author groups. And by getting involved, that meant not just lurking in the background, and not just taking all that information, but contributing, commenting on posts, joining in on what people were talking about. Help other authors. Now, I had, when I went into the group, I had no real indie publishing experience. I tried indie publishing, a little horror thing, and it died in its arse and failed miserably. So I had no real indie experience to offer, but I did have 10 years of traditional publishing experience to offer. So I kind of put myself forward and said, if anyone has any questions about that sort of thing, I'll be happy to answer them. I saw a couple of days ago on the group, someone posted that they were an accountant, and they said, if anyone has any tax queries, drop me a line and I'll try and answer them. So everyone here has skills. Even if you don't think you've got much you can contribute in terms of indie publishing, everyone has skills that they can contribute in the group, and knowledge that only they have that they can share. Share your expertise and opinions, just what I would say there. The other thing I would say is, when authors said, I've got a new book out, then I would go, okay, well, I'll help you out. I'll tell people about it. I'll share it on my personal Facebook, I'll share it on my Twitter. And the more I did that, the more I got involved, the more those authors came to know me, the more I made friends with these authors, and I made friends with, and readers groups as well, and I got involved in those too. And as I was helping people out, people like Michael, they spotted that I was doing that. So when Space Team came out, Michael said, well, send out an email about it. And he sent an email to his fans. And lots of them then went and bought it. And that just came about by being nice, not by asking, not by saying, we'll do a swap with you, just by being involved and helping people out, forming those networks, but not necessarily, not necessarily wanting anything from those networks, putting things out there, putting yourself out there, volunteering information, and then it kind of seems to just come back to you, which is really nice. Step 4, like I said, sharing experience and opinions. That can also be people put the cover up, give comments on their covers. People put their blurb up, give comments on their blurbs. Step 4, possibly the most important though, don't be a dickhead. Yes. So often I've seen people put a cover up, and someone will say, "That's wrong because of this." And then they won't let that go. Someone will say, I did that for a reason. And they'll say, no, your reason is wrong and stupid. My Space Team book, as you probably saw, there was a speech bubble on the front cover.
Yeah.
And I had dozens of people say to me, this is stupid, take that off. And I said, no, I quite like it though. And they said, take it off. And I didn't, I kept it on. But those people were often being dicks about it. They were taking their opinion and assuming that opinion was more important than my opinion, or that their opinion was fact. Feel free to ignore people. Feel free to ignore me now. I mean, I over 10 years of dealing with editors, when I started out in traditional publishing, I would get my manuscript back from an editor and I would make every change that editor had suggested because I thought they knew better than I did. And about 4 books in, I thought, no, that's wrong. And I emailed my editor and said, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, you're right. And that was like an epiphany moment for me. I thought, oh my God, I actually kind of know what I'm talking about. So, assume that you know what you're talking about. Don't assume everyone knows better than you do. But do take their advice on board and do listen to it and discard what you don't think is relevant and keep hold of what you do think is relevant. So, don't be dick about it and then repeat. Do it again. That's literally all you have to do to be nice. I did this well before Space Team was written. Before I'd written a single word of Space Team, I was involved in 20Books group, I was involved in some other author groups, and I was being nice. And that has paid dividends when it came to promoting my book and all that stuff. Other places to be nice. Genre-specific video groups, groups of authors you admire, genre-related forums, social media in general, blog comment sections. Notice that does not say other places to try to sell your book. Don't do that. Just want to be nice, get involved, form those networks, make friendships. And it will, like I said, it will pay off because those people that you've helped out will be much more willing to help you in the future as well. And I've now got to the stage when I have a decent sized mailing list, and if I see a book that's coming out I get excited by, then I'll share that to my mailing list. Because I can paying back in what people did for me. So, step 2, write a good book. Ideally in a popular genre, it doesn't have to be. Notice I didn't say write a great book. You don't have to write a great book. I've never written a great book. I've written over 100 books, none of them are great. If I'm brutally honest, very few of them are good. Write a good book, and I'm not going to go into any detail on that because hands up if you haven't yet published your first book. Is anyone here who's about to publish the book tomorrow? What's it called?
The end is nigh.
The end is nigh. Start at the end. Good luck. Good luck. Hands up if you've got one book out that's not maybe doing as well as you had hoped it would do. Few. Hands up if you've published loads of books. So it's okay. So it's a good match. Most of you published a good few. It's okay. So write a good book. That's we can spend hours and hours and hours going over how to write a good book. There are lots of courses available. Just write. I mean, that's the one advantage I have. I've brought from traditional publishing is that I can type fast, and I have 10 years of experience in writing stories. And each story I write is practice for the next one. So each story is theoretically at least better than the one before. So yeah, write lots, write a good book. Step 3, cover design. Now, like I say, I had literally no money. My wife wouldn't let me spend any money on Space Team. I looked around at the covers that were available in the price point that I could afford, which is practically zero, and they were all bloody awful, very frankly. I looked on Fiverr and saw some stuff on there, and I wasn't going to spend even that kind of paltry sum. So I was going to teach myself cover design, and I think the important bit about that is to teach myself cover design. I didn't try and design a cover from scratch. I went and spent dozens of hours studying covers and measures. So I looked at the sci-fi covers that were out there. I thought, okay, spaceship. Need a spaceship on there. Stars, that's another one that seems popular in space. So I literally went through hundreds of covers and I saw what worked and which covers jumped out at me. So I spent that time, because when you're paying a cover designer, you're not paying for those 2 or 3 hours that they spend designing a cover. You're paying for those 2 or 3 hours plus the 10 years that they've spent practicing their craft. So unless you're going to practice that craft yourself, your cover that you come up with, if you just sit down and try and design it, it's going to be a waste of time. So I spent a long time looking at covers. I read different cover design techniques, books about it, and then I've been messing around with Photoshop for years anyway, so I kind of knew my way around it. Software, I use Photoshop, but you have to pay for Photoshop, which goes against my Scottish instincts. Actually, my son uses it, so I get him the education discount. So but there is there's a free alternative. There are other things out there, those are the kind of 2 I would be looking at. There are things that are not as fully featured, and I think you would struggle to do anything that was really good quality. But if you haven't got Photoshop, try again. Stock images. See, I've been using Photoshop for years. I still don't know if it's Adobe or Adobe. Hands up if you think it's Adobe. That's Adobe. I fucking sorted that out, didn't I? Okay, so Adobe Photoshop. Stock images. I knew I was going to use stock because I can't draw, so I thought I'm going to have to use some stock images. And I went Adobe stock images. They do a 10-image trial. It lasts for 30 days, and you can download 10 images. So I knew I had to use fewer than 10 images on my cover. I actually managed to get the first 2 covers kind of sorted out, in that 30-day period using those 10 stock images. So yeah, free trial. You get pexels.com, Pixabay. But the important thing is check the license type, because some of them are for personal use only. And if you then use it in a commercial project, like in a book, that they can come and take your house. And nobody wants that happening. So check the license. And the other thing, a thick skin, because every time I did an attempt at a cover, I shared it on the 20Books group, and there's 20 covers as well now. I shared it on there, and it was immediately torn apart, like wild dogs jumping. So yeah, I could have went, well, I'm not showing you anymore. But instead I kind of took that on board, and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to take out that. I'm keeping the fucking speech bubble. That's not going anywhere. Really, just to annoy you. But I took on board the advice I got, and I changed it, and I tweaked it, and I think I've got some. Yeah, so these were the stock images that I got. These were 3 of the stock images. Astronaut, spaceship. Turns out, I didn't know at the time, that spaceship is fucking everywhere. That spaceship really is. And so I realised after I got it, it was everywhere. So I started customising it. I put a bumper sticker. I've got an LED sign that says "suck it" on the back. So this was close to my final design. And I put that up, and people said, "It's a bit, it's missing something." And then I changed it to this. So these are now later covers in the series that I've done myself as well. So I added in the planet under here, and someone said it was a bit empty up there, so I thought I was putting a guitar. There's a guitar in book 2, but just because of that cover. So I stuck it in, and that came about. I had done 20 to 30 attempts at that cover by the time I settled on that. And it's not perfect by any means, but it tells you what the book's about. If you look at that, hopefully you immediately think comedy sci-fi. He said, "Oh, haha, guy, real mature," and with the bumper sticker and all that stuff. Hopefully it conveys comedy sci-fi, so you know what you're going to get. And that's book 5. What I did for these, little tip for sci-fi authors, is this ship here. They get this ship in book 4. The only reason they get this ship is because I've run out of this image. And I found a 3D artist who made me this ship for $70. Because at this point I was spending some, because I'd earned money, so I was spending some of that money, reinvesting some of it. And there's a free program called Blender, which is a 3D modeling software. And I can pose the ship, and I can put it in any angle I want, and I can light it any way I want. And again, that took a bit of time to learn. I had no idea what I was doing to start with. But rather than investing money and get someone else to do it, I invested time in learning how to do it myself. So now I can use this ship in all my colours. And this guy here, he's a 3D model as well, so I can pose him any way I want. So I can now make an unlimited number of covers with an astronaut, a spaceship on it, and a speech bubble. And it only got that 70 quid. That was free from a website somewhere. So there are ways of making your covers cheap. I still make my covers cheaply. I do a spin-off series where I pay someone to make the covers because they're very different. They're illustrated. But these I still make myself. So this is just a stock image of a clown that I painted green, and I just pieced it all together myself. So it can't everything you can know. When I started, I had no design knowledge at all. I have learned that over time, and I still get feedback from people who just look at it and say that doesn't work. And I've abandoned maybe a dozen potential Space Team covers because they just didn't work. So I don't get it right all the time, but I'm quite happy with kind of where I've got to now. I think my thing just stopped working. Well, there we go. Formatting and editing. You're supposed to show me here, but it doesn't work. So what I did for formatting, because again, I didn't want to spend any money, so I didn't want to buy any fancy programs for doing it. I didn't want to pay anyone to do it myself. I found out I could just do it in Word. Can I write in Word? I know some of you guys probably write in Scrivener. Hands up if you use Scrivener. Or... Yeah, you can. I know you can export and make files from that. I just write in Word. And then I looked at other books in sci-fi genre and saw how they were formatted, make sure there was nothing I was missing, anything weird type of formatting that everyone was going to expect. And I settled on my format, did it in Word, imported it into Calibre, which is a free bit of software, converts ebook formats and various things. It lets you make some small adjustments, and you can add table of contents and stuff as well. Downloaded that for free, popped it in there, exported it as a Mobi file, and uploaded it to Amazon. And that took me 15 minutes, because I'd already written the book. So it took me 15 minutes and cost me nothing. So you don't have to pay someone to format it. You don't have to have expensive software. I use Vellum now because it makes it easier. But you don't have to do that when you're starting. Don't think you have to spend a lot of money to start it. Money spent so far in the process, £0, 0 pence, or if you're American, $0. I did the conversion in case. So editing. When it comes to editing, I kind of sat down and thought at the start what I would do. I came up with 3 possible options. So they were pay for a professional editor. Wasn't going to happen. Visit the Bank of Goodwill, people that I had helped out, and all of that. And in fact, reading this from me and giving me your thoughts, I think. Or 3, be breathtakingly arrogant. What I did. Be breathtakingly like I said, the one thing I would say I've taken from traditional publishing is understanding the kind of shape of a story and how a story works and what works and what doesn't. So I felt confident enough that I could put out a story that would be a good story, not a great story, but it would be a good story. It'd hit that certain level that I think you need to achieve for it to be a good story. So I did that. I wrote a good story, I put it out, I checked it for typos. I'm really bad at that. I put it out and lots of people emailed me and said, I found some typos in your book. And I said, great, do you want to find typos in my next book as well? and I'll give you it for nothing. So I've got a team of about 50 people who now do nothing but read my books before they come out and tell me all the typos that I have made. And they charge me nothing. They get as a free book to my art team, and they'll then go and review as well. And that kept me building up that relationship. But they emailed me to say, you've spelled that wrong, or you've done that wrong, or that doesn't make sense, or this character's name changes halfway through the book. I then said, okay, well, let's help each other out and give you some free books, and you can do all this work for me for nothing. And it works. So I have a team of 50 people now that I email, and they give me their thoughts, and I've formed relationships with these people. These people become friends of mine, and we'll, if I have a new book out, I might send them a print copy, or I might sell them some merchandise. Sell them some merchandise. Not give them some merchandise, but sell them some merchandise. So that's fine. So there are options, but again, editing is one of these things. I think it's, if you really don't feel confident with your story, then it is something you might need to get some help with, whether that is paid help, which can be expensive, and I say, from my experience, isn't necessary for that first book, or those people that you've built these networks up with, getting some of them to help you out, possibly in return for doing the same for them. If they'll read your book, you read theirs, and both give feedback. Again, though, not necessarily to take on board all that feedback, but it's useful to have it. Step 5, marketing. Hands up who struggles marketing their books. Yeah. Now, my marketing process has kind of changed over the last year and a half. What I'm talking about specifically today is kind of starting out how I started with the first book. So what I did, so I announced release in the genre groups I regularly posted in, because like I said earlier, you go and post in reader groups. Don't post as an author saying, check out my book, I'm writing a book. Post as a reader. If you write in a genre which you enjoy reading with, I'm assuming most of us do, then get involved in the groups that exist for those genres. If they don't exist, make them up. Create those groups and get other people like you to come and join them. And talk about your book, or talk about books in general, other books, talk about, make friends, make connections in there. And then once you have a book, you can then slip it into the conversation that's coming out. Don't go on and say, new book at the start, because you'll be kicked out of that group, and no one likes those people. So I approached other indies in the same genre and asked them to share it. Michael volunteered, which was nice fun. I think you volunteered as well, I think you shared it too. And then I saw some other indies who were in the same genre, said, do you fancy telling people about this? I've got no mailing list, I can't help you out. But then say, oh, you're the guy that did such and such for them, and you commented on that cover. So I had built up that bank of goodwill that they said, yeah, I'll share it, that's fine. And they share it, and now, like I said, I can repay that by new authors coming up, I'll spot them, and I say, yeah, I'll share this. And I share it on my social media and to my newsletters. Gave away a short reader mag on Insta Freebie to build my mailing list. John was talking about Insta Freebie earlier on, I think. Someone who's talking about Insta Freebie? Someone else? Yes, that's right. I wrote a little prequel to the terrible horror story that I wrote, and I gave that away free in Insta Freebie. And then I wrote a Space Team, the Holiday Special, based on Star Wars, the Holiday Special. And I gave that away free. And I think I gave away about 5,000 or 6,000 copies of those two combined. And then had a mailing list. And that mailing list kind of decreased. I deliberately decreased it because I don't like paying for things that I don't have to pay for. So when I had 5,000 or 6,000 people, I was paying for a mailing list provider at that point. And I constantly checked who was engaging with my emails. If they weren't engaging, then I kicked them off, because then it would be cheaper for me to do. But by doing that, I've created a list which are actually really focused. So I don't have those people that just wanted a freebie and now will never interact with me again. I've got rid of them, and the people that are on my list are engaged fans of my books, and they'll email, when I send an email out, they'll email me back and say, oh, I love that bit, and I'll do, can't wait for this, and I have a conversation with them. 4, wrote book 2. That was it. Book 1, I didn't really feel any great need to invest a lot of time, a lot of money in marketing. It ticked along, it was doing all right, but it was much more important to me to get that next book in. And that has been, I think, the key to Space Team's success is that every 5 weeks or so, there has been a new book out in the Space Team universe, and people have become hooked on it. And so they're all, as soon as one's delivered, as I heard earlier on, as soon as one's done, 2 days later they're emailing saying, oh, when's the next one? I said, I don't even know what it's about yet. But I've been kind of producing those, and that's why, again, it's important to write good books and not to write necessarily great books, because to write a great book takes much longer than it does to write a good book. So write a good book and get it out is my advice. What I did not do, and this is probably more important, ask friends and family to buy copies. Because Amazon has this thing, also bots at the bottom. And also bots have been a big key to Space Team success because they're really targeted at people that appear on the Space Team also bots at the bottom are all in the same genre. If you ask your mate who, a friend of yours to go and buy a copy of your book and it's not necessarily the genre they read, and then you get another friend to buy it and they read a different genre altogether, Amazon doesn't know where to put you. Those also bots at the bottom, Amazon kind of goes, well, fuck knows, I don't know. And they don't show things that are related to your genre. If you can get readers of your genre reading your book, then you start appearing in other people's also bots. Whereas if you've got a cross section of people who don't read your genre reading your books, it just confuses it, and it kind of a real impact I've seen. Because that's what happened with my horror book. I got everyone to buy it, and they also bots for like DIY manuals, paranormal romance, cookbooks. So, which didn't help the marketing effort at all. Spam social media, we've all seen that thing on Twitter. You go on Twitter and it's like, hey, it's a book about this, buy it now, it's 99 pence. And no one ever buys it. I found social media in general is not a way to sell books. Facebook advertising I found works. But just going, look at this, I've got a new book out, buy it now. Doesn't work, you're wasting your time. And you're making yourself look desperate as well. I didn't spend any money, because I'm Scottish. I didn't spend any money at all until book 2 was out, which was January 2017. At that point, I'd made some money. I hadn't made much money, but I made some money from Space Team. And I was able to reinvest all that into advertising. The biggest advertising expense I've ever had, I got a book bub for a box set, which was terrifying because it was 600 quid I had to spend. And that was in August last year. It was a box set I put in 99 pence. But again, trying to squeeze every last penny out, I only applied for the US and the UK so I could do a Kindle Countdown deal and get 70% rather than 35%. And the day the book bub hit, I hadn't even told my wife that I'd paid 600 quid in case she got angry. And the day the book club hit, it made $3,500 from that one box set and that one day. So that's the power of book club. But I didn't do that until I had earned that money. So I've only ever reinvested money that the series has earned. I didn't pay attention to sales to start with. That first book I knew it was ticking along all right, but I was more focused on getting book 2 out. I thought people are reading this. I didn't expect them to. It was kind of going to be a standalone in some ways, with an idea for a book 2. But when people started buying it, I thought, yeah, I'll commit to this second book now. And all my attention went on doing that and building those relationships with the readers who were emailing me. I'd much rather spend the time writing them an email and checking the sales and saying, oh, I've sold 3 copies today. So building the relationships was more important. So a quick summary, and then I'll have some time for questions, I think. 1, be nice, get involved, don't be a dick. Something's gone terribly wrong. There we go, write a good book. Spend time learning covers. If you're designing your own covers, spend time learning covers. And you can pick up covers for 100 quid, pre-made and stuff, and if you have that money to spend. If you have no money, then commit the time instead, because you're spending the time instead of the money. You can spend the money and not have to spend the time. If you don't have the money to spend, make sure you spend the time researching it. Get people onto your mailing list, which can be via Insta-freebie giveaways and stuff like that. Build your social media following. My Facebook page has got 1,000 odd people on it, I don't know. But the group, we've formed this little community and it's really interactive, and I go on and they make weathering criticisms of my personal appearance, and I do the same to them. But it's a little kind of, feels like a little club that we're all part of now, and it's really nice. And they become your super fans, and they'll sell the book on your behalf, and write more good books. That's write more books that are good, not write books that are more good, because I could do that. That would be terrible writing. So write more books that are good is the plan for that. Yeah, and you can download the presentation there if you want to download it. But does anyone have any questions? I thought we've got time, haven't we? We've got 15 minutes. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask about what I did with that, or anything about traditional publishing? I'm happy to answer as well.
If you want to come up to the front here, guys, and you can ask with the microphone.
Really simple.
Look me in the eye when you're asking this.
Simple question. Did you write US English or UK?
I wrote US English because I looked into the market a bit. I didn't write to market, but I kind of paid attention to it, and I thought, even though it's quite British comedy, the US market was much bigger, so that's where the money was. So I wrote in US English, which is one of the things that the people who emailed me about titles kept saying, if a U in colour, I was like, shit, I'm going to take it out.
Thank you.
What do you spend money on now, and how do you ramp up to that?
Drugs and prostitutes. No. I still don't spend much money. I spend my January. I use AMS stats. Not much effect, I don't think. I kind of break even on those. Well, no, go by Michael Cooper's formula. I think I'm making money from them. So. And Facebook ads, and that's it. I'll occasionally I had a book club in January, which was like, woo! So January's marketing budget will be about 500 quid, which was almost double what I've ever spent before. But January made, by the time audio sales, because I do audiobooks as well, I do profit share on audiobooks, and the profit share I think was the best decision I've ever made, because my narrator is now, he pays for advertising for the audiobooks because he makes money as well. So he's become my partner in promoting the audiobooks. Once I had an audiobooks, January's earnings should be the first time that I hit $20,000. So that's my 500 marketing budget. Yeah.
Given that you, like me, have been previously in traditional publishing,
Yes.
as a sort of working for them as a pay for hire. If they came in now and said to you, they offered you for the Space Team
series,
how determined would you be to remain?
I wouldn't
indie?
Contemplate it. My agent, because I still have an agent, because I say the children's books I was doing, my agent also represents books for grown-ups, and she had said, let's try and sell this elsewhere. And I said no, because I love the creative freedom I have with it, which you don't have with traditional publishing. I love the speed that you can do it. My first book series sold to HarperCollins in 2007, and book 1 came out in 2010, and book 6 came out in 2013. And they were all written by then. So it's so slow, and the money is so minimal, whereas I can do this and have fun, and I can do collaborations with people, and I can do I can do spin-off series, and I can do merchandise, and I can do all this fun stuff, and it pays more money.
Traditional publishing's glacier.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, traditional publishing is really going to struggle as over the next few years.
I was just curious about the average length of your books.
About 70,000 words. I think the first one was about 65,000. I think the longest one's about 80,000, but kind of 70 to 75,000 words.
In 5 weeks, that's amazing.
Yeah, I write them in 3 weeks, and then the kind of process of sending it to my ARC team and stuff like that. So
He's humble.
Very humble.
Any British people that don't want to get out of the seat? America's like, here we go. Give me that microphone, man.
You mentioned your reader group and that it's really engaged. I wonder how you got started with that and how you built it up and basically made them give a crap enough to join it and keep going back.
Well, I had the Facebook page, which has got kind of significantly more people on it than the group does. And I could see in the Facebook page, I was posting every day. I was basically posting 2 or 3 things a day, usually not connected to my book. Something funny I'd seen that was vaguely space themed, I would stick that on, or some interesting link about, there might be aliens, which almost certainly isn't. NASA are really helpful to me, because every month NASA has a big conference where they say there's something exciting, and everyone goes, what's that going to be? And we'll always talk about it, and then I would say, yeah, there might be water on a planet 10 billion light years away. And it's like, so you would kind of, and certain people would gravitate to those posts, and you would kind of have a laugh with them. And then as the Facebook changes, that whole thing of page posts aren't going to appear in timelines and stuff, I decided I was going to try and do a little group, and I just said, create this group, and here I am, and join it. And probably about 20-25% of the page so far have come over to the group. And they all post, some of them make artwork and do all kinds of stuff, so it's really nice. And yeah, they've kind of become my little group of superfans. So.
Just one more question from Natalie.
It wasn't so much a question, sorry. I'm a member of Barry's Facebook group. The way he drew me, it was just fun. Rather than trying to sell me stuff, it was everything's fun and everybody chats. I don't always chat, but I always appreciate it. And then, I want to share what he's done because he makes me feel involved.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I think that's, I think this is probably a British thing, even more than a Scottish thing, is that I don't want to sell myself. I've never said, these books are really good. I've kind of gone like, I've done some books. So yeah. Oh yeah, apart from the fact, who shouted that out? Apart from the fact, but I say I don't want to sell myself. I should say. So I have a space So I'll shut up now. Thanks very much. But if you do want to download it, it's just there. You can get it, and there'll be other stuff that I'll send out. Any questions about it, just go there and message me. I'll be happy to answer them.
I'm pretty sure we want that dude in Vegas and